Yes. Welcome into another New York Jets pregame live. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, going to be hanging out with you for the next hour or so, talking some New York Jets versus Washington Commanders on Christmas Eve. Oh, baby. You just got to love it. Jets Commanders doesn't get the juices flowing for you. I don't know why that could potentially be. I am excited to be hanging out with you guys for this lovely one. Kickoff at 1:00. We'll keep you updated on inactives. We also got a pretty sick Jeremy Ruckert one-handed catch, so I'll show you that. We'll put in the link as well. We'll do call-ins as we go here. I just want to toss this up on the screen. Yeah, how about this? Jeremy Ruckert, little one-handed catch action. Maybe get some Jeremy Ruckert force feeding the younger guys, and really that's the only reason to watch today, right? Is it for the young guys? And ironically, Trevor Siemian is starting today, who's not going to have any future with this New York Jets team, right? But it's okay. We'll go over inactives as well when they are released. They have not been released yet for the New York Jets. To me, a couple of good ones, a couple of pregame fits that we got to toss in there. CJ Mosley, to me, that looks like someone who's not going to drop an interception this week. He looks like someone who's ready to go. I'm saying 5 solo tackles and a pick off of Sam Howell. That's what that looks like to me. We also had Joe Tippmann walk in with a phenomenal fit. Here's Breece Hall. Let's see. Breece looks good. Not very Christmassy, but he looks good. Aaron Rodgers. Look at that. He's ready to go. Clark Griswold. By the way, Christmas Vacation, best Christmas movie in the game. But I wanted to pull up, I guess it was SNY Jets that had it. My apologies. SNY Jets had it. Walking in, none other than Big Joe Tippmann. The pregame fit of the pregame fit. Joey T, baby. The Clark Griswold Chicago Blackhawks jersey. The big cowboy hat. It don't get any better than that. That's the center of the future right there. I love it. Let's say hello to the people in the chat. Dakota, can't wait. 6-9 today. We're winning the rest of the way. 8-9 probably. That's some crazy town talk, Dakota. That is on brand for some Dakota love. 8-9. No, can they win today? Sure, they could win today. Of course they can. Can they win against the New England Patriots, the final game of the year? Yeah, absolutely they can. Are they going to beat the Cleveland on a short week on the road against that defense with Trevor Siemian most likely starting? Hell no. I don't buy that one for a second. If you want to get upset about draft pick position, that's all you, man. I can't. I'm not doing it. I don't have it in my system to do it. If it happens, it happens. If not, whatever. We're team numb. That's what it is. Let's go to Gator. Gator, what's going on? Merry Christmas, good man. Merry Christmas, Gator. Jets YouTube legend. He's got his own YouTube channel covering the mostly Jake Asman show, but just overall the craziness of New York Jets YouTube, because that's what it is. It is crazy town. I love our Jets community. I think it's hilarious. And we got the inactives list, so we'll pop that up as well. Thanks again, Gator. All right, let's go to the inactives list. John Franklin Myers is active, so that's some good news there. Randall Cobb is inactive. Okay, I would classify that as a win. Sorry, Randall Cobb. I don't mean to be harsh. Just looking at this, though, this is a game where you'd want to see the young guys play. I don't necessarily think this is one where you would want to see, a ton of Randall Cobb. Dwayne Brown, similar boat, was kind of banged up earlier in the week. He hasn't been playing anyway. Carter Warren's going to be back and playing right tackle, left tackle, Mekhi Becton. Aaron Rodgers, inactive. He was added to the roster, but is made inactive. Zach Wilson also inactive. Both quarterbacks injured. Zach Wilson concussion. Aaron Rodgers, we know the Achilles. Nick Bawden is inactive. So he was elevated to the roster, but is inactive for this one. I wonder if people are going to be upset about it. And cornerback Bryce Hall is inactive. So that's your look at actives and inactives. We could pull up Washington's as well and see if there's any of note. The Commanders, who the New York Jets are playing, a rare AFC versus NFC. Okay, here's some inactives for you. Brian Robinson, running back, is inactive. That's a big name. Mitchell Tinsley is another one who makes the list, but it's going to be the Antonio Gibson show on the ground. By the way, I don't know if any of you guys have a pregame show of choice. I have ESPN muted in the background behind my TV, and Rex Ryan is wearing a phenomenal Christmas sweater. That jumped out and caught my eye. I obviously have it muted. We're doing the show right now, but I like to have, something on behind in the background in case we have some breaking news or just anything going on. And he is clearly rocking it today. He is rocking the look today. Things you just love to see. Dakota's back with his positivity. Dakota, I don't know how you're doing it. I appreciate you, but I don't know how you're doing it. Win today, damn it. Last home game. And follows it up with beat the Redskins commies. Yeah, Washington, baby. I have one of my cousins is a Washington fan. So much so that he actually named his son Bailey after Champ Bailey, born in the early 2000s. They were going to come up for the game. They live in Georgia now, but decided against it. And hard to blame them, right? Suppose, Aaron Rodgers, no more Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't give it the juice. Let's go out to Jason Edwards. He's been a member of the channel for 9 months. One of the biggest supporters of the Jets YouTube community. I appreciate you, Jason Edwards. Merry Christmas, Matt. Merry Christmas, Jason, to you and yours. Who should we draft in the first round next year? So that is going to be the big conversation of today. Deservingly so, right? Because when you look at it between these two teams, the New York Jets and the Washington Commanders, that's the biggest storyline. Neither of these teams are going to the playoffs. I want to pull this up, which is Tankathon. Here we go. This is the draft order as is. Right now, Washington has the 4th pick at 4-10. The Jets have the 8th pick at 5-9. A win could bump the Jets down, as low as the 12th spot. A loss, and the Jets could find their way up to number 4. If the Jets are picking 4, they're in a good spot for the draft because that means one of Joe Alt or Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be on the board. If this ended today, and if it was Chicago, first pick New England, Arizona, and then we'll pretend the Jets are 4. My guess, the top 3 would be Caleb Williams or Drake May, number 1 overall. The other quarterback, whichever one it is, number 2 overall. My guess is it would be Caleb 1, Drake May 2, Arizona 3. I would imagine they are sticking with Kyler Murray. And with that being the case, I think they would take Marvin Harrison Jr., which actually would mean then the Jets would have their choice between Joe Alt and Oli Fashanu, the offensive tackle from Penn State. So one of those two guys would be my pick in that spot. I like Joe. To me, Joe Alt is my preference. Now, if they win and they find themselves picking in the 10 to 12 spot, big difference. I mean, if you swap over to the mock draft side of it, like right now, Brock Bowers is the one, but J.C. Latham would probably be my guess. He's projects to be a right tackle coming out of Alabama. There's another tackle, Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State is another one who could potentially go in that range. They have him at 21. If again, me just guessing, this is pure guess in December, could very well change in the next few months. I would think both those guys in JC Latham and Fuaga end up in the top 15. You could take a wide receiver. Unfortunately, you're not in Malik Neighbors' range anymore. So you could end up going with like either a Keon Coleman or Rome Odunze. But I would guess JC Latham would then be the pick. We'll see. I think offensive line, though, is my preference, and that's the direction that I personally would like to go. Zachary Berner chimes in. Zachary, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for tuning in, hanging with us. Who do you think should be fired at season's end? I think offensive line coach and running back coach. That is more than fair. I personally am not a big fan of either of those guys. I would say Todd Downing as well. So if you look at the Jets offensive staff, Nathaniel Hackett's the offensive coordinator. He's not going anywhere. But to me, that doesn't mean that you have to keep the same guys. Keith Carter is the offensive line coach. I think he's done an absolutely abysmal job. Todd Downing's been the pass game coordinator. I don't think you bring him back. Taylor Embry's the running back coach. Rob Calabrese says the quarterback coach can go. Zach Azzani as the wide receiver coach. Does he really move the needle? Ron Middleton has been a fun one at tight ends. Ron Middleton can stay. But yeah, I'm really all set in here. Why don't I pull up this tab? I should do that. Here's a look at the Jets coaching staff, the assistant coaches. We know the big three: Brant Boyer, Nathaniel Hackett, Jeff Ulbrich. Ulbrich might get some head coaching love. Maybe he gets a job somewhere. That'd be a touch on the surprising side for me personally, but you never know. Azzani at wide receiver. If he comes back, fine. If he doesn't, I'm not going to cry over it. Mac Brown and Pat Bastion don't really move the needle a ton for me. Calabrese, I think, has done an awful job. Keith Carter, Todd Downing, Taylor Embry. Like, this is the range. These four could all pack their bags. The defensive staff, I mean, has been great. You look at it, Marquand Manuel, Tony Oden, who would be my choice to move up to the defensive coordinator if they lose Jeff Ulbrich. You also have, the defensive line coach has done a really, really nice job as well. So they've had their fair share, and Aaron Whitecotton as the defensive line coach. That's another one. So, and then they still have Greg Knapp up here, who they never replaced. Rest in peace. Hackett needs to go, says Jack. I don't disagree with you. I just don't see it as something that's very likely. I think all three of them are coming back, and all three meaning Saleh, Douglas, and Nate Hackett. Indy Jet says, let's make it at least a watchable game, 27-24 Washington. Could you imagine if both these teams score over 20 points? That would be a Christmas miracle, because the Jets, as we know, struggle to score points. We'll pull that up from the New York Jets, because I don't know if you guys are going to believe just how bad it is. You will. You watch them every single week. But here's the numbers. Is this the draft? But I don't want drafted players. I want stats. Here we go. Scroll it down. They have scored since the bye week. Let's just take a look at since the bye. 13-6, 12-6, 13-8, 30. Hey, that's a random one. And then 0. But Washington, they ain't much better, guys. Yeah, their quarterback, Sam Howell, throws the ball all over the yard. They don't really run the ball all that well. But over their last few weeks, dating back to November, 20, 26, 19, 10, 15, 20. I'm thinking 1st to 17 wins this game. We're looking at like a 16-10 game, 16-13. I think it's going to be a coin flip. Honestly, it's one I could see the Jets winning this game because of how good their defense could play. And Sam Howell's turnover prone. He has a ton of interceptions, takes a ton of sacks. From that perspective, it's a very good matchup for the New York Jets. And we know Washington has the worst defense in the league. But do any of you guys have any faith in a Trevor Siemian-led offense with Nathaniel Hackett? Because I sure as hell do not. I don't. That's why I picked, I believe, a 16-10 Washington Commanders win was my prediction. Drew chimes in. Drew, what's going on, my friend? How are you? He says, do the Jets score over or under 1.5 touchdowns? Give me the under. 2 touchdowns in a game. Are you crazy, Drew? Come on now. They did it once against Houston. They didn't do it against Atlanta. They didn't do it against Miami. Well, I guess they did, right? They put up 13, but it was a defensive touchdown. So normally this offense is usually good for 1 or 0 touchdowns per game. So I say they get 1. Garrett Wilson gets a touchdown. I think they go heavy Garrett Wilson today. That's my prediction for you. SG31 Black. What's going on, man? He says, do you think we should bring Jordan Whitehead back next year? No, I would not personally. He had a great first game of the year against Buffalo, and he's been solid with interceptions, right? Like that's been his calling card since being a New York Jet over the last couple of years. He's been very, very good intercepting passes. Outside of that, there's some major issues that I have with his game. We're looking at his box score numbers on PFF. I'm going to minimize your comment just because I want to show the full screen. It's kind of blocking me a little bit when I do it like this. But if you look at right here, missed tackles, 16.7% missed tackle rate. This guy misses so many, 16 tackles on the year through what? How many games? 14. They have 3 left. 14 games, 16 missed tackles. He's also given up 8 touchdowns this year, and opposing passers have a 105.4 passer rating when targeting him. 4 interceptions, great. That's solid. You take that. 3 the first week. And then when did he get his 4th? Who is that against? Forgive me. Was it Tua? Could have been. Don't remember. Drop it in the chat if you remember off the top of your head who the other interception came off of. But 8 receiving touchdowns against and 16.7% missed tackles. To me, the interceptions is not enough of a net positive to get me to that point. So what do the Jets do? Re-sign Ashton Davis. I can't believe I'm saying that. Someone I've been critical of Ashton Davis his first 3 years in the league. And in year 4, the splash plays are still there. He's still coming away with the interceptions, but his pursuit angles have gotten much better. He's not getting lost in coverage nearly as much. I think he is fine as your third safety. And I would bring back Chuck Clark. I know he missed the season, but on a 1-year cheap deal, have Chuck Clark and Ashton Davis, duke it out for your starting strong safety spot. And you keep Tony Adams, who is Tony Adams fantastic. I don't think he's been fantastic yet, but see if he continues to develop there at free safety. That would be my plan anyway. Rico the Pup says, didn't Whitehead pick off Jalen Hurts? It very well could have been. Why don't I just scroll up? It should tell me right here. I'll pull the screen back up. Should tell me over here. It was against Vegas, the interception. So it was Aiden O'Connell that he picked off. You're thinking of Tony Adams, who intercepted Jalen Hurts in that game. Rico also says, I just hope we can get Garrett Wilson and Brees going, particularly Brees. Come on, give the guy a sliver of space. That's all he needs. It's such a shame how bad the Jets have been at run blocking this year. They are not even remotely close to competitive run blocking. They stink in pass pro too. But once AVT went down, Brees Hall's numbers as a rusher since Elijah Vera Tucker went down this season is truly, truly remarkable. Now, thankfully, he's still been a net positive as a pass catcher. Here, I want to pull up the box score. I'm going to minimize your comment, but pull this up. Here's the numbers for Brees Hall. Has the huge game against Denver, 177 yards and a touchdown. Since then, as a rusher, 39, 17, 50, 28, 23, 25, 16, 40, 12. He's got to be frustrated. But receiving, last week they didn't do anything. 1 catch, 6 yards. The week before that, 86 and a touchdown, 50 and a touchdown, 47, 54, 76. It's a shame it took him so long to start utilizing him as a pass catcher. But look at from Philly through Houston, he's getting like 5+ catches every single week. That's how it should be. They should use him like Christian McCaffrey. I'm not saying he's as good as Christian McCaffrey because that's an incredibly, incredibly tough ask, but still. Indie Jet says that missed tackled issue we had with Quincy early in his career too. He finally fixed that. That's true. He did fix that. We could look at those numbers because he did fix that. Let's do that. Pull that up because that was a major issue for Quincy. Now, Quincy has played significantly less in his. I mean, for Whitehead, this is year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Quincy, and he's been a starter for most of his career. Quincy Williams, this is really year 3 of him getting significant run. Let's share the screen. Wrong tab. Share this. Boom. I'm minimizing you, Indy, but this is what we're looking at. The numbers from Quincy Williams, 13.5% missed tackles. So it's gotten better, right? But 17 is still a pretty high number. He's just been significantly more consistent. He's been great in coverage this year. Really, really good stuff. 7 pass breakups. A ton of 86 tackles through 14 games. You can't say enough good things about Quincy Williams this year on the New York Jets. Williams and CJ Mosley as a 1-2 duo. Does it get any better than that? You're good at defensive line, corner, linebacker. Don't get much better than that. 4-10 versus 5-9. It doesn't get much better than that. You're right. And that's why the fans today are going to be pulling up this website. Tankathon.com is going to be the best friends of the Washington Commanders and New York Jets fans as they're looking to say, all right, Washington, they've lost 5 in a row. They started 4-5. We're kind of hanging around with this crew. They have a lame duck coach. They've been just bad. Oh, my God. Really, really bad. Jets have been bad, too. I mean, at 5-9, they finally ended their losing streak, but after starting 4-3, they're 1-6 in their last 7. Crazy. Burner's back. If Huff is not back, how big of a setback will the pass rush have? I mean, it'll hurt. Will McDonald would get a bigger role. That's for sure. And that's going to happen regardless. But I don't know why the Jets have been, from day one, really, with Bryce Huff, so naive to get him on the field more. We had to ask and beg and plead the New York Jets to put this kid on the field more. And they just finally listen now. And he's probably going to finish with a 10-sack season. What does he have right now? 8, if I had to guess. 8 sacks on the year for Bryce Huff in 14 games. He had 3.5 last year, 2 the year prior, but the pressure numbers have always been there for Bryce Huff. And when you look at his pressure numbers and the lack of snaps that he got, you're like, oh my God, this guy should get on the field more. And then they finally do it this year. I mean, come on. He's a 25-year-old just entering his prime. You know, it takes pass rushers a little bit. Sign him to an extension. Have Bryce Huff, Jermaine Johnson, and Will McDonald be your trio as pass rushers on the edge. That's important. Spiz is hanging with us. Ella says, hi, Matt. Do we even want to win at this point? Probably not. Like, I am going into this is my big thing. I am going into this one completely numb. If they win the game, whatever. I don't have it in me to get all bent out of shape over it. And if they lose, it increases their draft stock. We got a caller on the line. We want to go out to our guy, Connor, who is checking in. Connor, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, Matt? I'm actually at MetLife right now. Shout out to Jake Assman for hooking me up with some seats.
I love it. Look at that. Connor reporting live from MetLife Stadium. What's the vibes like there today, Connor?
Pretty high energy, still a lot of tailgaters.
Okay.
I met Bryce Hall, Lakin. I got Garrett to sign my jersey, and Solly. So it's been a good day.
Look at that. You're off to a hot start already there today. I'm glad you're enjoying it there so far. Do you have any predictions for this game today, Connor?
12-9 Jets, all field goals.
So all field goals for both sides today. Not much offense going on, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
I love it. Connor, I hope you enjoy the game today. I hope
Thank
you have
you.
a great time, and hopefully you see a Jets win there. How about that?
I hope so too. Jets, 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 Jets. As Herm Edwards would say, you play to win the game.
Connor, I love it. Enjoy the game, my friend. We'll let you go. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Love it. Connor Long, ladies and gentlemen, the next generation of Jet fandom right there. Gotta love it. Connor's been checking in. Shout out to our guy, Jake Asman, hooking it up. He's got tickets to go to the game. Look at that. That's huge. John chimes in. Just wondering, does anyone know why Roger Saffold never get into the lineup? They acquired him at Halloween. That was the biggest. Trevor Siemian and Roger Saffold, the two of them, the biggest slap in the face signings. That was just to appease the fan base. They signed Trevor Siemian after an abysmal showing from Zach Wilson against the New England Patriots. And everyone's going, they need to get another quarterback in here. You can't let another season get away because of bad quarterback play. And he goes, I hear you. We're not going to trade for anybody. We won't give up draft capital for, Josh Dobbs or Jacoby Brissett or sign a Carson Wentz. We're going to sign someone. But it's Trevor Siemian, who started one game last year, got beat out of a starting backup job in Cincinnati, just kind of hanging around. And I was like, all right. I mean, you can make a case that statistics wise, he's been better in his career than Zach Wilson, but does that move the needle a ton? Not really. All right, fine. And then Roger Saffold, it's a trade deadline day. It's like, wow, this offensive line stinks, but they're still hanging around. At the time they were 4-3. And it's like, hey, you have a chance to, maybe be a wild card team in this lost season and the playoff drought. Like, oh, no, we're not going to give up a 6th round pick for Ezra Cleveland, someone with starting experience who's come into Jacksonville and played well, by the way. They've even had him play left tackle a little bit. Wouldn't that be nice in a pinch? Play him all over the line. Guard, tackle, left side, right side. No. We're going to sign Roger Saffold. But he's underweight, so he's got to put on some weight. Okay, that seems like an issue. And we're never going to activate him. We're never going to play him. What a joke. What an absolute joke. Indy Jet says Bryce Huff and Bryce Hall, cornerback, have seemed to be overlooked a lot. Hall kind of understand more than Huff. Hall, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Love the draft pick in 2020. I was a big fan of his game. I thought he was going to go much higher before his injury, right? In that draft, probably a 2nd rounder before the injury. He ends up falling to the Jets got in the 5th round. Great value. Comes in and plays a lot his first 2 years. I think he held up pretty well. But last year in the preseason did not look good. Played in one game pretty much, that first Baltimore game. He got cooked for a touchdown. I was like, all right, man, a little bit of a step back. And then this year, didn't look good in training camp. Again, didn't really look good in the preseason. Has been mostly inactive the rest of the way. So Hall had a legitimate regression, I would say. Huff, on the other hand, has only been getting better. So that one I don't get. Alex says, sup, Matt? I think the Jets lose today, 20-3. I just want a better draft pick at this point. Alex, listen, I am not in the business of telling fans how to root. If you want to root for the Jets to lose today because you think it will help their draft stock and improve the team for the future, I think that is A-okay. Honestly, I'm not no sarcasm, no, this is a backhanded, genuinely. Okay, that's what you think is best for this team. And then you have the other side of the coin where people who are like, I want to see this team win. I think all the losing is bad for the culture. And I don't really care about the draft pick because, draft's a crapshoot anyway. And if Joe Douglas is any good, he should be able to find someone, whether they're picking 4th or they're picking 12th. I was like, okay. Me personally, I am choosing to go into numb. If the Jets win, whatever, fine. If the Jets lose, also whatever, fine. Kind of expected, better draft pick again. Forgive me, I don't have the energy. I don't have the brain capacity. I don't have it in me, the intestinal fortitude to get upset if this team wins a game or loses a game at this point in the season. It is what it is. But Alex, you're right. That a loss today would significantly help their draft stock. We're looking at Tankathon. We've pulled it up a ton on this stream. This is where it is right now. Going into this week, Washington has the 4 pick. The Jets have the 8. If Washington wins, they move down. The Jets lose, they move up. Chicago winning against Arizona would be huge today as well. Would be huge for the cause. Get them out. The Giants have the Eagles. I don't really see that one as super likely, but we'll see. The Giants are tomorrow anyway, I believe. But anyway, Tankathon's a big one. Dakota says, extend Huff long term. Amen. Sign me up for that. And says, bro, got the tickets from Jake during the week. Yeah, that was awesome. I really shout out Jake Asman. Good, good friend of mine, Long Island legend as well. A couple Long Island guys. Richie from Jets Media, Long Island. Jake hooking up the kid with the tickets was awesome. Edward says Connor needs his own YouTube channel. I agree, dude. Honestly, he's smarter than most of the fan base. Connor's probably smarter than me. Yeah. He should have a YouTube channel. He should have more followers than all of us. He's been great. Rico said a true fan, wasn't even around when Herm Edwards was coaching, but knows the line. He knows the line. That's wild to me, by the way, that it's like there's people in the fan, which is true, but like people in the fan base who like obviously like has a phone, could call into the show, can comment and stuff like that, and wasn't around for the 2000s, wasn't around for any of it. What probably is 12. So born in 2010, 2011, missed literally all the good. At least, so, my generation of Jet fan, late 20s, early 30s, saw a lot of success, relative success, of course, because no Super Bowl, but I've said it a million times on this show. I started, 2003 is the first year I really remember, 8 years old, but 04 playoffs, 06 playoffs, 8 didn't make the playoffs, but the Favre year was fun for a while, 9, 10 playoffs. They were good in the 2000s. And then not so great after that. King Jamie the Mad is hanging with us. King Jamie, our favorite Chiefs fan, says, hi, Matt. Hello, Jets fans. Them Commanders are not top dogs. Jets can win this one. They absolutely could win this one. I agree with that. I think this is a game they could absolutely win. I don't know how well the offense is going to look under Trevor Siemian. I don't. But if they get to... what was the number I said earlier? 17. I think first team to get to 17 wins this game. Mike D's life. What's going on, Mike D? Says, Merry Christmas, Matt. We all know how this goes today, right? I'm assuming he's saying an ugly, like 13-10 win. Sounds about right. Our guy Connor said 12-9. Connor on the scene said 12-9 Jets win today. That sounds about right. Oh, God. Dakota says Jets 6-3. That's great. That's fantastic. John says, I don't even remember 2010. I was 6. Dude. So you're born 04. And that was the first playoff season that I got was 2004. Because I don't remember 02, where the Jets last won the division. So I'm 28 years old, and I don't remember the Jets ever winning the division or having a home playoff game. Any playoff game that I remember watching the Jets in has been an away game. Terrible. All right, let's go to Anthony next. Says, off-season concern. I get all the Huff love, but maybe an overpay. Jets played him in the fourth quarter in the preseason this year, looking to trade him. They must know something. He production of double team on cue. No, I don't. Why are we going to give this Jets regime the benefit of the doubt of knowing their own roster better than the fans? I don't think they've done enough to earn the benefit of the doubt. I think most people, myself included, were saying that it was a mistake. He was playing in the Hall of Fame game. I was there in Cleveland, or not Cleveland, but Canton, Ohio, against Cleveland. I was watching the game and said, why the hell is Bryce Huff still in this game? And it's because they're deep and they have, there's guys that there's not enough roster spots to go around. He has to play. But if you don't want to pay him, I don't know. What would you go up to? $15 million a year? 3 for 15? 15 per? And a guy who's going to be towards the top of the league in pressures every single season? Homegrown pass rushers, please pay. I know that they need help on offense. I get that. But a contract extension really doesn't do a whole lot to the cap. You could structure things in a way where it's a cheap cap hit in year one, and each year the cap goes up higher and higher and higher every year, record number. Structure it so it's $6 million in year one against the cap, or whatever the hell it has to be, $8 million in year one against the cap. Just pay your good homegrown developed players. This staff and this regime, credit to Joe Douglas for finding this guy as a UDFA. Great. But then also they developed him to the part where he's a guy who's going to get double-digit sacks. And that's something that the Jets have been looking. They had John Abraham up until 2005. And then they went from 2006 to 2022 without having a solid, real, pure edge pass rusher. And you're going to let him go? No, not for me. I can't do it. Rico's back, says, do you think aside from the draft, we're really going to use free agency for O-line help? I know TJ Watt is a beast, but Jonah Williams was getting abused. It was absolutely manhandled. We're going to sign him to protect A-Rod. The free agency class on the offensive line is not great, which is why I think there's a world where Elijah Vera Tucker can be playing tackle next year. Would I prefer him at guard? Yeah, I probably would. But finding two tackles is a hell of a lot harder than finding one, assuming you're going to have a top 10 pick, and then signing a mid-level guard. Guard is not as expensive to pay as tackle, number one. And number two, I think you could find average to above average starters at guard for cheaper than what you could be able to find at tackle. And your best tackle options, as you said, Jonah Williams, he's really just a name because he's a first round pick. Trent Brown, he's been pretty good, but injuries have played a factor in his game. Like a 33-year-old Tyron Smith, what is your option at tackle? So I'm not opposed to going draft pick, AVT at tackle. Lakin's got to stay, I guess, because finding 4 new starters on the offensive line sounds like a major ask, or 3 new starters. Titman at center, and then sign a guard. Maybe that's the way. John says, top targets for this offseason. Do you like going after Mike Evans or Devontae Adams more? I feel like Evans is better move because I don't like giving up premium picks for a 31-year-old wide receiver. It's not going to be a first-round pick to get Devontae Adams. I think maybe your third rounder this year, but if your choice is to just sign someone and not give up the pick, obviously I think that would be a good move. I like T. Higgins as well. I think that's another name you could throw in there. Devontae is one. It's just been linked so many times. It feels like that's maybe the most likely option for the Jets to go. If they end up picking high enough, do you make a move for Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's there? I would, absolutely. But signing T. Higgins, signing Mike Evans, I'm good with that. They have to add some veteran wide receiver, whether it's via trade or free agency. They got to figure out a way to get somebody in here. Hot takes from our guy, Peter. Cook goes for a long run. Brownlee gets multiple catches, and McDonald gets a strip sack. Will McDonald's played well the last 2 weeks. He has, I think he was credited with a half a sack last week and the week prior a sack. So can he make it 3 straight weeks getting after the quarterback? A strip sack is his It's his calling card. That's why Robert Saleh got on the phone and whispered sweet nothings into his ear, calling him a game wrecker, because he gets after the quarterback and creates strip sacks. Fair, but see Mo Wilkerson. Yeah, Mo Wilkerson. Merry Christmas. Appreciate all you do. Anthony, I appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Mo Wilkerson was the comp for Quinnen Williams, for being afraid to pay him on an interior guy, right? Obviously, Muhammad Wilkerson didn't work out. That one really did not work. But Muhammad Wilkerson is not an edge rusher. He was an interior guy, and they already had Sheldon Richard. They had Sheldon Richardson, and they had Leonard Williams. So a little bit different. I don't think that's a 1-for-1 swap. Jimmy Jet says, whatever happened to Lyle Collins? I think he's still injured, right? Indy Colt said, do you see any world where Zach Wilson is back next year? If so, I'm calling it the death knell of the death nail, maybe, of the Douglas Saleh regime. I don't think so. I'd be very, very surprised if we see Zach Wilson back with the Jets next year. I think they move off of him. I think they sign a veteran backup quarterback. Insert Ryan Tannehill, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew. Like a name like that will be signed as a backup. And a day 2 or 3 rookie will be QB3. That's my way too early prediction. SG31 asks, will Mike Evans be a first ballot Hall of Famer? He absolutely should. One of the most underrated players of this era. Puts up 1,000 yards every single year in his sleep. How is he not? I think he absolutely has to be. King Jamie says, win or lose, I still support my Jets friends. Why do you come in and act like that? I missed it. Oh, come on, boys. Do what you do best. Lose was the quote. I get it. Look, they want the better draft pick. That's all. I'm not going to get on anyone who wants the better draft pick. It is what it is with that. If they lose, that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be excited about. I see the Jets blowing Washington out today. It's the Jets way, bro. That's what I meant. There you go. Blowing them out. It'd be funny. John says Sam Howell is a 5th rounder. It's where we should look to. Yeah, I mean, there's guys who should be going, round 3 to 5. We could see you can find someone. And who knows? Maybe they're not your long-term answer, right? And be like, okay, like this is your guy, but you see him for a year and be like, hey, like this guy could be a long-term backup quarterback. Would it be terrible for you to find your QB2 in the 4th round, the guy who's your QB2 for 4 years? No. Gator says, can you remember a Jets game in your lifetime that you were less excited for? Miami last year was pretty up there. Joe Flacco versus oh my God, what the hell is his name? Why am I blanking on? He started a playoff game for them last year. I can't even remember. Somebody help me out. The chat will know. That one was pretty bad. No, this is up there. This is absolutely up there for one of Skylar Thompson, by the way. I just remembered it. Skylar Thompson. That one is up there. This might be worse though, because there's still 3 more weeks of this. That was only 1 more game to get through. There's 3 weeks of this nonsense left. And a primetime game. Oh, Gator, another primetime game left for this Jets team. As she says, I like Sam Hartman, that Notre Dame quarterback, right? My favorite is Michael Pratt at Tulane, but there's a few options that you could sell me on in the mid to late rounds. Here you go. Jimmy Jets just says that Pratt or Hartman in round 5 could be the next Purdy. Wishful thinking. Maybe. Imagine if the Jets find their franchise quarterback, not with all their first round picks that they've developed not developed, but have had, Sam Darnold 3rd overall, Zach Wilson 2nd overall. Instead, it's, pick 100 and whatever is it. But hey, you look around the league, Brock Purdy, 7th round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th rounder. You don't necessarily have to get the guy in the first round. Jalen Hurts was a 2nd rounder. That whole NFC East, pretty much, they're starting quarterbacks right now. None of them are first rounders. So it could happen. Don't worry, it could happen. So what do you think of this report? I'm not really surprised by it, but we could talk about this for the final few minutes here before we hop off. New York Post, Jets owner Woody Johnson says he's keeping Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas for 2024. Really not a surprise. We also saw Deanna Rossini quote tweet. It says Jets owner says Saleh and Douglas will return next season. The collective attitude has been without Aaron Rodgers this season was difficult to overcome all the obstacles. They would get another shot. I can't say that I'm surprised by it. I don't know if it's the right call or not. I hope it proves to be the right decision for this team, but hard to get crazy excited about Douglas and Saleh. There are legitimate concerns and legitimate flaws with both of their games, I would say. Gator says, what is your dream scenario for today? Great game, but we lose on a last-second field goal, or we win 45-0. Give me the great game, but we lose on a last-second field goal. At least that'd be much more entertaining. A 45-0 win would be, in the moment, you'd be entertained, I guess, right? But one of my favorite Jet games that I've ever been to, and this is a good example of like a tank almost done perfectly, except for one game. But for this one, 2018, Jets Packers. It was right after Christmas. It might have been the 26th, if I remember, or maybe it was the 23rd, but it was right around Christmas. And Sam Darnold gets in a shootout with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know, when I was at that game, watching that game, I was going, holy crap, the Jets might have their quarterback here. He's playing great. Let's see if I can pull it up. Sam Darnold, because his numbers were fantastic that year in that game, actually, also. So game logs 2018. Bear with me. It was the 23rd. All right. So the day before Christmas Eve. I was right. It was right around Christmas. The final score was 44-38. Jets defense did not show up that day, especially in the fourth quarter. 18 points to Green Bay in the fourth quarter is insane. But Darnold, 24-35, 341, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He balled the F out in that game. That was a really fun one to go to. John Roth says, I like supporting our team. Douglas and Saleh are part of that, and the Rodgers and O-line injuries aren't really on them. But my caveat or rebuttal to that, John, would be that their poor planning was a part of the downfall. For instance, not having a legitimate backup quarterback in here and relying on a Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton tackle duo and expecting that to be okay. That'd be my pushback. But again, that is more on Douglas than it is Saleh. Aaron says Hackett's name isn't in the report. Okay, I still think he's coming back. Or maybe switch him to quarterback coach, right? Rob Calabrese, send him back to Staten Island. You go coach at Wagner again. Vladdy P, what's going on, man? Matt, how does the salary cap work? Can you blow through it? Are you allowed to? Do you just pay a tax? No, different than baseball. So in baseball, there's the luxury tax, right? Where if you're over whatever threshold, then at that point, you just pay a tax. It is a hard cap. There are ways to manipulate it. For instance, it's not like the NHL for me is much easier. There's ways to manipulate the salary cap in the NHL also, but just give me a second to explain. So in the NFL, you could have a deal, right? Where let's say we'll use round numbers, 3 years, $30 million. So it's safe to assume on average, right? AAV, average annual value, $10 million a year. You think, okay, 10 million year one, 10 million year two, 10 million year three. In the NHL, your AAV is your cap hit. So over that course of the 3-year deal, if you sign, we'll use the same example, 3 years, $30 million, your cap hit would be $10 million year one, 10 in year two, 10 in year three. In the NFL, you could structure it differently where it's like a couple of million in year one, then it bumps up to like 14 million in year two. So it's a little complicated, unfortunately, Vladdy. It's a little bit complicated. I wish it wasn't, but it is. Beth Page Chris says, I agree. JD killed us, but Salah having no clue when it comes to X's and O's screws us in game. My biggest criticism with Robert Salah is he is way too conservative at times, especially offensively. They have that all gas, no break mindset on the defense. They have an identity on defense. For 3 years now, they have zero. With Mike LaFleur or Nathaniel Hackett, they have no identity on the offensive side of the football. You have no idea what they are trying to be. And maybe that changes with Aaron Rodgers. I sure as hell hope so. It changes next year because an elite quarterback can help you hide some things. But you don't know what you're getting from this Jets offense week in and week out, what their game plan is going to be. It's frustrating. And that's what Rico chimes in and says here, defensive-minded head coach. Play offense not to lose the game instead of playing to win the game. That is the I could not have said it better myself, Rico. That is the main concern. That is the main issue with this regime is they just play way too conservative on the offensive side of the ball. Way too conservative. So I'm with you there. Absolutely with you there. Aaron says this, my biggest takeaway is that they didn't mention Hackett. I would hope that they would move on from him, but there's no guarantee that they do. No guarantee that they do. Beth Page, Chris says McDaniel ran the Cowboys offense against us and we had no answer. Pretty much. They had no answer for it. It was a lot of quick passes, a lot of short intermediate stuff. I wish they don't, but I wish they would have Sauce Gardner travel more. Not every single time, but if you're getting beat by one guy in particular, can you travel? Can you travel? Can you move him around a little bit? Is that really too much to ask for? Apparently so. All right, I have time for a couple more before we get out of here. On this one, again, Jets, Commanders, starting at 1:00. I believe Green Bean is live streaming it. I'm going to double check on that. I believe he hasn't said otherwise. I don't have my phone on me. It's charging behind me. Green Bean Jet fan. I believe he should be starting up momentarily. If so, yes, he is. He is starting in just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to hop out in a few. But I will be on with Green Bean and Ryan at halftime on his channel. So make sure to check it out there. Jeremy from Jets Chaos will be on as well. Gator says, who would you like to see win the Super Bowl this year? Us Jets fans tend to go against teams more, but what's the good story winner this year? I like San Francisco. Like I don't have anything against San Fran. There's not really anybody in the AFC that I love. I'm like, oh my God, they got to win. The Chiefs have won a bunch already. Eagles. I don't hate the Eagles as much as other guys, but Nick Sirianni really bothers me. The Lions would be cool, obviously. But like of the semi-realistic options, I guess I would go 49ers. Jets 17, Commies 13. Merry Christmas. That sounds about right. I could totally see that happening. And let's close out with that, actually. We'll close out with the score prediction 17-13. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this lovely day. Hope you have a Merry Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas tomorrow. I have a special video coming out for tomorrow. I recorded it already and scheduled it. What I am doing, I'll tell you guys because you're my OGs, 87 of you guys hanging out with me. Tomorrow, I am doing a 12 days of Jets Christmas. So what does that mean? 12 gifts to the New York Jets players, coaches, all those guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Enjoy the game today. Enjoy the time with your family. I'm Matt O'Leary. We'll catch you next time. Go Jets.